Let's go!
What's up, dudes? Max here. Over the past week or so, had a unique opportunity with Bandai Namco to check out a near final version of Tekken 8. This was a pretty healthy build of the game with a whole bunch of options as well as a whole bunch of modes. So we're going to go over all of them and sort of give you a heads up because, yeah, Tekken 8 is looking kind of insane because this is a pretty huge and full packaged game. Once again, big thanks to Bandai Namco for inviting us to the preview event and the limited access to this build. We did get a pretty healthy amount of time, a few hours, to sort of go through everything, and I want to go through it as I saw it because there was an announcement earlier today about a new demo for Tekken 8 where you guys will get a little taste of some of the things that are in what we played. Number one is the story mode. And the story mode to Tekken 8 follows directly from Tekken 7, and they put a lot of effort into this thing in Tekken 7. They delayed the game like several years from its arcade release to eventually come out, and it feels kind of a similar situation here. Obviously, we're not getting an arcade release for Tekken 8, but they have put an absolute metric ton of effort into the offline sort of offerings of this game. And the story mode is no different. So, yeah, you can kind of expect a very similar situation and sort of storytelling style. It's super anime, it's super cheesy, but the thing that was really annoying about Tekken 7 story mode was that sort of the narrator, how the story was portrayed through the eyes of a journalist, that seems to be completely gone. Instead, what we played was a very Jin Kazama-focused story mode. And I feel like that might be one of the only negatives I have about my impressions of this crazy, insanely epic battle that you're going to be having with Jin as he's learning all this stuff, is that it was, for what we played, only Jin. That could change, but it was about like an hour's worth of playtime that we messed around with, and every single time we played as a character, it was Jin Kazama, so it's a bit different than these sort of like roster-hopping, globe-trotting things that have existed in previous story modes for fighting games, even Tekken 7 to a degree. It seems to be telling Jin's story as of right now, but granted, we only had access to a limited part of it, and it only focused on Jin, which was, you know, fine. Jin's a really fun character in this game. I'm not super disappointed with that. I would just like to see, you know, the taking pilot of other characters that are critical to the main storyline. The positives, though, even though that is one technical negative, the positives, though, is that this story is wild, bro.
Fight.
It seems to be taken to a level of extremes, even more so than previous Tekken games, which is several degrees and levels of extremes. So the only thing I can really tell you outside of how insanely epic they're trying to make all of this stuff, which is just, you know, very anime tropey sort of story, but just huge, over-the-top epic action. This feels like I'm playing fighting game Fast and the Furious, right? Where, like, at some point, Jin Kazama is going to launch his ass into space. He's going to turn into a satellite and blow something up. Kazuya is also going to be flying around in devil form. It reminded me of sort of the ridiculousness, and I haven't even seen this whole movie that happens in a game like, I'm sorry, a movie. I think it was Blood Vengeance. It was the one Tekken movie that came out during Tekken Tag 2, when that game also got like a Tekken Tag 1 remaster. I think that was it. And there's some crazy, ridiculous stuff and transformations and, you know, absolute nutty over-the-topness that happens in this situation, but it's shot very well. It looks very good, and we're just gonna be having a hootin' and hollering time when this thing comes out. I can't wait to play it. Next up on the list is arcade story mode, or technically the big arcade adventure mode that is in Tekken 8. And we got a very small bit of this because the betas have your little arcade character and the customization. All that stuff is the same. Interacting with the online lobbies is pretty similar. You get an idea of how this works. So like the online functionality works sort of similar to arcade mode. However, this might be the most impressive thing in the game so far. No kidding. Outside of just the general fun factor, like, arcade story mode has you starting as like an absolute casual to a fictional Tekken arcade universe meant to emulate arcade days of yore, which makes me feel incredibly old that now we have games telling arcade stories in a way that, oh, I just lived this, so now this is so far back in the day that we have to make games about it. Woof. But I actually loved it because in this arcade story, it sets you up against a variety of opponents very similar to, you know, games of old, the old school Virtua Fighter 4 Evo stuff, but much more tangible. You can see where you're going. Your character actually moves around. You can individually challenge people. The nice part about it was the ease in, right? So this eases you in very well. It starts off by just giving you basic objectives like use your rage art, use your heat mode, like and do a heat mode combo, like by starting this with that. And it gives you like little extra rewards or little notches on the side to accomplish these things. So it's quite fun. And I actually really liked the fact that this is a story mode in a fighting game, and the whole point of it is that it wants to ease you into the game's mechanics and teach you. There is even a point where you fight against some characters and they do obvious like a similar string. They do like not their full move list, but just pretty basic strings. And it's like a 1-2 that ends in a mid or ends in a low. And I kind of liked it because it was like, oh, it's teaching me that this CPU is ending this stuff in low. I'm just going to go for low parry here and just see how that works and learn my low parry combos with some new characters. And it was fun. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was weird because you're also earning currency for the next thing we're going to talk about, which is like customization. But I found this mode really captivating. And I think for anybody that is going to be either new to Tekken or refreshing or anything like that, outside of the absolute bombastic story mode, this is the next step you would want to take before jumping online if you don't want to immediately take the plunge. If you're like, oh man, I don't know what's going on with this game. Dude, this arcade story mode is pretty much it. And I fully give credit to the devs for putting a lot of time into this. It doesn't look absolutely amazing because it is these cheesy little avatars, but what it's offering is a very healthy amount of content. And I'm looking forward to seeing how people adopt this and learn Tekken before they jump online.
Serait-il possible de réserver une table dans un 3 étoiles pour ce soir? Cuisine française, évidemment.
Next up is customization, and this is probably one of the biggest elements of Tekken is obviously dressing up your character and giving them all these features and weird things and looks and stuff like that. However, I will say there is more stuff you can do here in comparison to Tekken 7. You can change things like shoes. The overall customization level and like I'd say costume options are a bit more than what felt like the offerings from before, but it also does feel very similar. And I don't think that's specifically a bad thing. I don't mind the customization in Tekken. It offers for like a cheesy little side thing that you can do to make your custom characters, but it didn't feel like this was a giant step up from previous games. If you go back to games like Tekken 6, for example, you had a lot of customization options in that game. Like even the hair had like front side of the hair, mid side of hair, back side of hair, you know, like a whole bunch of different things you can do in that regard. But there seems to be a bit more options just in this customization, but not like an absolute massive jump and leap over the previous games. However, you did see the classic character models or classic costumes from previous games were in here, as well as alternate colors for them. And yeah, dude, the extra costumes you get, or the variety of costumes you get per character, which seems to be about 4, they're pretty high quality. For the most part, it's like, oh yeah, they didn't just slap on the old character rig from Tekken 7 if you want to see what Jin's biker outfit with his red booties looks like. No, they remodeled this whole thing, and it looks pretty dang good in this new engine looking the way it does in Unreal 5. So, although customization isn't like the 10th degree above what I thought it was, it's nice that it's there, but I don't think that it is like the end-all be-all of the experience. It's just, you know, don't expect that much more leaps and bounds beyond Tekken 7. So let's talk a little bit about characters, and obviously I've only had an opportunity to play with a few characters from the betas, and I did have a lot of fun with Lars, and I had even more fun with Jin. Weirdly enough, Jin is turning into a character that's a bit easier to use, although he seems really good. I didn't get a chance to directly compare, like, oh, did they nerf down 2? Did they change anything on Jin? Is electric now even non-electric a launcher? I don't know. I'm sure other people had a chance to dissect that stuff immediately that are much more versed in Jin and how good he is in the betas and stuff. Instead, I pretty much put all of my time into Victor. And I can confidently say, and I want to do like a full breakdown going over like crazy Victor stuff and combos, this character is ridiculously fun, man. And if you want like a direct comparison to other Tekken characters, he obviously was adopting a lot from Noctis. He's the leader of the Ravens, so there's a little bit of the Raven stuff in there as well. But I'd say he's like 50% Noctis, like 25% Raven, but also 25% Kunimitsu with this like weird sort of teleportation flashy stuff. Character is just beyond flashy. Doesn't have the range of a character like Noctis, but, you know, still just an absolute insane myriad of stuff and stances. So we'll get into it. I got a bunch of match footage that we can, you know, go over and check out that I'll probably do on stream later tonight. But I loved the character, man. Like, this definitely feels like this wild and ass Soul Calibur guy in the same way that some people might have been upset with Noctis. Yeah, this guy definitely is doing some crazy shit. So although I was hearing things from across the bend of people playing around me and behind me, that Reina seems absolutely insane. Everything she does looks ridiculously cool. Devil Jin, which hasn't been shown off too much, was just doing the most insane shit I've ever seen Devil Jin do. A ridiculously flashy character. He has like an air dash in some situations. I don't even know what I was looking at. But the thing I love about the roster and what we were playing in Tekken 8 in terms of like combos and structures is that they didn't seem to like tone everything down, right? In the betas, it seemed like you just had access to so much, you know, between the heat gauges, the rage arts, like all this kind of stuff that's in the game. The game is very mechanically dense, and that did not go away. They're more equipped, and there's just more things you can do with everyone in the roster than almost ever before. And even the characters that I put a lot of time into, is like I was just barely getting a grasp of what was going on here. But it just seemed like there's so much potential. And that leads into the next thing that was in this this sort of play session, which is training options. And by what I was just saying, characters are doing more stuff, there's more mechanics, there's more things than ever before. And we did get a bit of time to mess around with some of the training options. And the nice part about it is that this game is so ridiculously feature-rich that they knew people are going to have a tough time with this stuff, man. Tekken's a tough game to learn, just in general, from Tekken 7 to previous Tekken games. It has some of the most legacy skill of any fighting game out there. And I think that sort of adopts over to Tekken 8, absolutely, although it's just been shifted in certain ways. Like, movement isn't nearly as much forward and back, it's just more in the sideways directions. But a lot of characters do very similar stuff, and if you just carry over that stuff from previous games, it will work. So you kind of have to work your butt off to teach the audience about these things. And that's the amazing thing about the adopting procedure of Tekken 8. Not just that arcade quest mode. The amount of options you have in training mode is freaking ridiculous, man. And they are doing their best to have you look at replays and handhold you and fight against ghosts and have that ghost fight you. And yeah, when I was fighting my ghost, it was whooping my ass, man, because suddenly I'm fighting a character that's emulating my play style. So I kind of know what I'm doing, and now I have to fight another character that kind of knows what they're doing as well. And it was kicking my butt, and it was doing actual combos. I was like, whoa, this is sort of cool. The ghost mode stuff, the arcade mode stuff, and all the training options, this game is working its ass off to sort of help out anybody that wants to learn how to play it. And I think that's very appreciated. I know a lot of people are going to jump into Tekken 8 and enjoy the story mode, obviously. A very large amount of the audience are just going to play this arcade fun mode and wander from arcade to arcade and fight new people and get new cosmetics and all this kind of stuff. And I get it. But everything about T8 really is trying to get you into its online mode, to fight online, to be comfortable with Tekken, which is arguably one of the most challenging aspects of this franchise. They put a lot of effort into this game. This is a very feature-rich game, and it seems like it's gonna slap, dude, because I was having a lot of fun just learning new characters. I was already having a lot of fun playing online. The online impressions that I've had from CBT were very, well, varied because of the connection quality stuff. So I hope a lot of that does get ironed out by launch. We didn't get a chance to mess around with any online functionality in this preview event. So that's still, you know, in the air. But everything else this game is setting up and offering is pretty dang impressive. And it truly feels like this is a massive budget game with a lot of effort and a lot of time put into it. And it's clear that they know the challenge. Tekken 8's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to get people into, but there are more tools than ever before. The last thing I want to mention, because this is pretty glowing. I had a great time with this preview event. Is that the Jukebox Mode is back. Hallelujah. We all like the Jukebox Mode. It is not exclusive to just the PlayStation version anymore. It's in every single version of Tekken 8. Wonderful. However, Jukebox in Tekken 7 was a really cool idea, but it had problems. If you wanted to play certain tracks of a match, you couldn't just map like, hey, just give me Electric Fountain or Karma from Tekken 6. I just want to play these matches in this stage that way. No, it was separated by the fact that you had different elements to music, like a round 1 version, a mid-round version, and an ending version. So if you just mapped the same song to all those 3 different versions, while you were playing the match and going into the next rounds or the final parts, it wouldn't like change that song. It would just restart the song, or it would play a different song or something like that if you randomized it. And that was no good, dude. It essentially made Jukebox Mode kind of useless, in my opinion. And I just didn't end up using it that much just because it was just like, oh, we're just getting like a random assortment of songs every single round or something like that. This isn't good. Dude, they fixed it in Tekken 8. Now there's just 2 different versions. There's like the opening theme and then the climactic theme for like final round. But if you put the same song under both of them, it will just play the song out like it normally does in a classic Tekken match. I absolutely friggin' love it. So now you can get Tekken Revolution music properly playing. You can like make a playlist. You can do all this stuff that we wanted to do from the previous game, but it just didn't sound good. And I can't tell you, man, like music is such an important thing for me with Tekken. I just left the Tekken 5 soundtrack on for the majority of the stages. So I'm just gonna leave you guys with like a little versus CPU match with Tekken 5 music in the background, because if there's one thing Tekken 8 isn't doing, you know, fantastically well, I'm not a huge fan of its music yet. It hasn't given me a lot to just absolutely fall in love with. Once I got that option to put on T5 music, it was over, bro. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick, brief impression of Tekken 8. I'm going to be back with more gameplay and features, going over a character that I spent the most time with, which was Victor, and he's incredibly fun. So look forward to that. Until then, yeah, just expect a lot more of this game on this channel, because Tekken's always been a lot of fun, and this game is going absolutely ham in that direction, that's for sure. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. Appreciate any thumbs up or likes on the video. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.
Round 1. Fight. Qu'on puisse obtenir des mouchoirs dans la rue gratuitement.